Well, guys, it's over. The Urban Meyer era is over. What a mess this was. What a complete disaster this Urban Meyer hire was. The Jaguars went out there, they swung for the fences, they got the big splashy hire. There was a lot of scrutiny behind it, there was a lot of praise, there was a lot of, this will either do really good or really bad. But it ultimately wound up being very, very, very bad. And a record aside, Jaguars are 2-11. Okay, that's fine. The big thing was not even about the record. The thing was not even about even like the on-field play. It was just everything around that. From moves off the field, whether it's hiring, doing the Chris Doyle hire, or even bringing on Gardner Minshew with a quarterback competition over there, bringing in Tim Tebow, stuff like that, versus what he was saying to the media, like he was either lying or he didn't know. He was so misinformed about everything. The scandal, the thing that happened in Cincinnati where he didn't fly home on the team plane and he got caught out at the bar doing what. Like everything was just such a mess with this guy, and it started to turn comedic. It was like, what is this guy going to do next? And then once one story leaked, more and more and more got leaked. And then when Pelissero said, look, this is just a tip of the iceberg when it comes to Urban Meyer stuff, it was true, because Josh Lambo came out and said that he kicked him during pregame stretches and basically talked to him like like a bully, like he was intimidating him, he was like standing over him, like. And it's amazing with Urban Meyer because he was a con man. Shad Khan has probably dealt with a lot of con men in his life. Obviously, you don't get to where you are, money and success wise, if you haven't ran into a few bad apples. But man, like Urban Meyer sold this guy on the most false reality, what he was going to do to the Jaguars. He was a guy that preaches like accountability. He was a guy that preaches that in an organization you need to have trust. You can't have, controversy. You can't have distractions. And everything that he promised, he did not live by. He became his own worst enemy. He talks about owning it. Owning it was the whole entire offseason mantra. And then he never owned anything. He would throw blame at position coaches, saying, "Oh, I don't deal with that. That's this guy's job. I don't do that." It's like, okay, well, what's your job then? A lot of people blame Bevel for the offense. Well, guess what? Urban Meyer hired Darrell Bevel, and Darrell Bevel's had some good offenses in the NFL. He's had some top 10 offenses. This offense is terrible, and to say Urban Meyer gets a pass for it because it's Darrell Bevel, no. Urban Meyer and Darrell Bevel, this is the offense that they crafted all offseason. You have from January until obviously August or July, whenever training camp starts, to say, okay, this is what we had, this is what we got in free agency, this is what we're good at, this is what we're bad at. This is going to be the offense that we form. And this offense has been terrible. Trevor Lawrence has been terrible. Trevor Lawrence has been regressing in a real way. If you look at Trevor Lawrence before the bye week versus after the bye week, he was making throws before the bye week that he is not making throws anymore. You know what I mean? He is not a confident quarterback. And that's the whole entire thing. That is a franchise right now. That is the sense of hope, is that, look, we finally have that franchise quarterback. And we go out there and we're not doing things to put him in a successful position. Straight up. And it sucks to see. It sucks. It really does suck to see. But there's just been so many bad things about Urban Meyer. And to be honest, I was on the Urban Meyer train from the beginning. I said, look, Urban Meyer does a lot of great things, obviously all the success. But, man, it came out that and even some of his former players in college were kind of coming out and like saying things on Twitter about him. And it's like, man, he did a really good job of hiding the real jerk that he is. Like, he does stuff, and it's different to be a tough coach and holding accountable versus just being, a complete D-bag. You know what I mean? Like, he's throwing Gatorade bottles at players at Florida. Like he did such a good job of keeping that stuff hidden from the public. And that's because, look, you can manipulate guys that are 18, 19, 20 years old. I mean, I remember myself when I was 18 years old, first year in college, I rushed a fraternity. It was a good time. But then I look back, 9 years later, and I'm like, why did I do some of that stuff? Why did I take that? Well, it's because back then you're impressionable. You go in there, you're wide-eyed. You look at everything. You don't know what to expect. And now that Urban Meyer is dealing with 30-year-old men, guys that are multimillionaires, it's a whole different game. You can't treat players that way. And the moment Urban Meyer should have been fired was the moment where people lost trust. People did not take him seriously. You know what I mean? If you can't respect your head coach, you are not going to be successful. You know what I mean? Like back in the day, Tom Coughlin was tough. You know what I mean? Tom Coughlin was not very fun to play for. And the same thing with Bill Belichick. But the thing is, you know what to expect from them. And they have a resume. They know what they're doing. You know what I mean? They're not fake. They're not throwing blame at different people in front of the media and stuff like that. That's what Urban Meyer did. And now we're in a situation where, like, we had to go hire a new head coach. And look, it's a fun situation because there are a lot of actual really good candidates out there. You can go out there and get the guy that's done it before. Doug Peterson is out there. He's won a Super Bowl. Also, Jim Caldwell. He's, former Colts head coach, former Detroit Lions head coach. He's a pretty damn good coach. Also, you go out there and get one of these young up-and-coming offense coordinators. Byron Leftwich from the Buccaneers, Kellen Moore from the Dallas Cowboys. That's what's been working lately is the young guy, the young coach. Sean McVay, Zach Taylor. Some of these guys, Matt LaFleur up in Green Bay. These are some of the guys that have actually been being pretty successful. Get these young offensive guys in here that can draw up an offense and, that have an ability to change. But at the end of the day, the thing that we had to get in here, I mean, there's two things that you have to think about. One, you have to get a guy that people actually like. A lot of times you need to go away from what you did before, and you need to get a guy that's actually going to be respectable. That's one thing about Peterson, as I hear, is he's kind of a jerk. So I don't know if we want something like that, but we need someone that is, that can do his thing when it comes to that category. But you also need to keep Trevor Lawrence in mind. Like, we had a lottery ticket when it comes to drafting Trevor Lawrence. Despite what your feelings are about him, the facts are that the Jaguars drafted in number 1 overall pick, like a top 5 quarterback prospect to ever come out. And another fact is that player is not being developed well, and he's regressing. So whose fault is it? Is it Trevor Lawrence's fault, or is it the Jaguars' fault? I mean, most often the times when you have these top 5 prospects, Peyton Manning or Andrew Luck, John Elway, these guys, they turn out to be pretty good. But Trevor Lawrence has not been good. You know what I mean? And I'm on the train that look like, while Trevor Lawrence needs to take some of it, but look at the team around him. Look at the coaching. Are we really expecting this dude to overcome a horrible head coach, a terrible offensive scheme, wide receivers that are not getting open, revolving doors at the offensive line? I mean, I don't know what people are expecting out of him. You know what I mean? It's unreal. So, man, just what a colossal failure Urban Meyer has been. But look, we're going to wipe our hands clean and we're going to move on to the next guy. Does this set us back? It sets us back a little bit. The biggest way it sets us back is the fact that Jaguars had a lot of draft picks in 2021. Man, they were sitting on a lot of draft picks. And if you hit on those draft picks, next year you can win the division. But right now, those draft picks, I don't know. Incomplete. I mean, we haven't seen most of them. ETN, we haven't seen him. Andre Cisco, he hasn't been in there. J2 Fele, Jordan Smith. And the funny thing is that, the James Robinson benching was one of the most hilarious things to me. And that's ultimately broke the straw that broke the camel's back for me, because like, you're going to make an example and bench James Robinson. I don't care about benching James Robinson. Be consistent. You know what I mean? If you're going to bench James Robinson, bench Andrew Wingard and put in Andre Cisco. Bench your offensive lineman. I mean, your right tackle, Jawan Taylor, has been a liability. And you're not going to do anything there. You're not benching anybody but, okay, James, you're going to be benched. Look, we get it. You don't like James Robinson. We get it. I mean, you did everything you could to kind of phase him out of this offense. And then when you absolutely had to kind of come in here and play him, that's what you did. But it was ridiculous. I mean, week 1 should have been very telling where James Robinson got 5 carries and Trevor Lawrence threw the ball 51 times against a really bad Texans team. I mean, we should have known then what was to come. But, man, what a revenge story for Lambeau. Lambeau was ultimately the guy that finally got Urban Meyer fired. It's crazy, man. It's crazy. And there's people out there that, I don't know how, but people are still really like behind and supporting Urban Meyer. I don't get it. He hasn't done a single thing well. If you want to preach consistency, that's fine. Like, look, one great thing about if you're going to go out there and hire an offensive coach, maybe Joe Cullen stays. You know what I mean? I would get a new GM, but hey, Joe Cullen stays. Hey, Joe Cullen, pick your defensive staff, whatever, and then come in here, ramp up the offense. But one thing that we do know is that, look, we're going to be 5 years in a row with 5 different offensive coordinators. That stuff has to change, man. We have to get better consistency in here. But hey, Shad Khan's back to the drawing board. I don't know, it's exciting to get a new coach, but man, that's it's gonna be tough. It's gonna be tough. But I'm gonna be doing a live stream tonight with Jordan DeLugo. We're gonna talk all about it. So it's going to be a lot of fun. So let me know what your guys' thoughts about this are. Urban Meyer is gone. Thank the Lord. I was wrong, but hey, at the end of the day, this is an ultimate failure by Shad Khan. Look, all the evidence was out there. Just talk to coaches that have dealt with him. Talk to former players that have dealt with him. How did you not see this coming? Like, how did he not see this coming? Was he so blinded by the fact that we need to win that he did this? I don't know. I mean, it's the ultimate love-hate thing with Shad Khan because Shad Khan is the reason why the Jaguars stayed in Jacksonville, but his record speaks for itself. In less than 10 years, he's fired 4 head coaches. And everyone says, oh, Shad Khan's a patient man. Is he? Is he even that patient? He was patient with Gus Bradley, not really anybody else. You know what I mean? I think, honestly, looking back, I think Doug Marrone got a pretty raw deal. You know what I mean? He came in here with a good roster, and against his own volition, they just tore it down. Every year his rosters got worse. And, you know, here we are. So, I don't know. But obviously, free agency is going to be big for us. We have a lot of money to spend. We had to get a head coach that players can respect. So, with all that said, I've kind of done enough talking. I've talked plenty of crap about Urban Meyer in the last few vids, but now, you know, I'll be going to the game on Sunday. I was planning on rooting against the Jaguars to hope that, look, Shad Khan, get this guy out of here. I thought that might have been the wake-up call, but it's done. So now I can root for the Jags to win. And hey, we have some, you know, back-to-back. We have Texans, Jets. So maybe we get another win or 2 in here. But all right, guys, thank you for watching and sticking with this channel. Drop a like if you guys can. Go Jags.